Well, look, I'll say this. It is tough for people to either open their eyes, admit they were wrong, or stick their necks out, and it becomes easier. Like I say, courage is contagious. So give it time, the more people that do it. Let me just ask you one question before I forget. You studied SIDS back in the day. Now, I grew up with the knowledge of SIDS, you know, put the baby on their back, don't let them sleep on their face. I think that was it.
Yeah.
I had never heard of SADS. And now that I've been exposed to the notion of SADS under the current context, people were saying, hey, Viva, what about, you don't think the same thing of SIDS? And I never even asked the question. In your studies, and at the risk of asking the anti-vax question, in your studies of SIDS, was there any correlation that you noticed between the phenomenon of SIDS and any increase in the, what's it called, the repertoire of vaccination that was being given to newborns?
So we didn't have that data then, David, but let me tell you what I think is more. So in 2017, 18, I wrote a paper. I got my first Nature publication in Nature Neuroscience, and it was a paper called on the pericytes. It's not parasites, pericytes. What are pericytes? Pericytes are a structure that occurs all over your body. In fact, every endothelial.
No idea what that is.
Okay, we're going to learn it very quickly. It's very important to learn this. The endothelial cell is a surface of every vasculature in your body, your veins, your arteries, your capillaries. Your entire body has the tubes that carry blood. It's called the capillary at the final level. The surface of those is made of it's called an endothelial cell. We have three different
external or internal surface?
Internal. Like So we have about 300 different cells. The lung tissues are covered by epithelial cells, right? The circulation system is composed by endothelial cells, okay? Endothelial dysfunction is when you have heart issues, okay? Well, every endothelial cell has embedded in it this thing called a pericyte, okay? And the pericyte is very, very important for controlling wounds of the endothelial cell, all different functions. I'm going to be doing a video shortly. I've uncovered something quite interesting. I also want to let people know that we invite everyone to come to an orientation. Every Thursdays at 11 a.m. and 8 p.m., I host an open house. Lots of great people show up. You have a lot of chance to meet people from all over the world. Every Thursdays, we do a open house. Anyone's invited. You can just RSVP at vashiva.com/orientation. We have people all over the world come in and we discuss how we actually build a movement to end the nonsense that's going on. If you think, oh my God, the world's going to hell, I'm so confused, you'll get very inspired at seeing there's a lot of people who are coming to our movement for truth, freedom, and health. Please join us there. What I wrote in our paper in 2016, which has gotten numerous citations, was pericytes also show up in your brain. You have your brain and you have the blood-brain barrier, which protects your brain. That has so much capillaries in it that if you could stretch it from San Francisco all the way to Los Angeles, that's how much vascularization you have in your brain. Now, there's a growing evidence that all of these neurovascular diseases, Alzheimer's, ALS, have to do with dysfunctions in the blood-brain barrier, and more specifically, destruction of the pericytes.
Okay.
What I've recently found is a very interesting connection between the antigens on a lot of viruses, pollutants, etc., and the pericytes, okay? They cause dysfunction, which can lead to blood clots, which can lead to sudden vasculature, CVD. And I'll be doing that shortly. In fact, I'm going to be submitting a paper. But the bottom line is that the human body is a very complex thing. I don't like this vax, anti-vax stuff because it basically lets a lot of people get away. Because what it's saying is vax and anti-vax. Mm-hmm. The real issue is the right medicine for the right person at the right time. The real issue that's going on with the immune system right now is we are literally creating, or we've already created generations of people whose immune systems are compromised because they don't get turned on at a young age, right? They've done some very incredible studies. Kids who grow up with a dog that goes in and out versus kids who just have the dog inside and kids who have no dogs, all the dirt and particles coming when the kid is between the age of, even when the kid's in birth, right? Up until 5, it really juices up the immune system. And by bringing kids up in these artificial environments, we are creating a need for vaccines. You see what I mean?
Well, 100%. I mean, the one study that I know offhand is in Israel. The prevalence of peanut allergies is, from what I understand, exponentially smaller, if not virtually non-existent, compared to the West. And they have the treat called the bombas, which are peanut-based treats, which they give out, and they don't protect all kids hermetically from exposure to peanuts, nuts, and whatever. Right. And unless I misunderstood, the science has changed on that. That's that's my framework for understanding.
Basically, it's like if you didn't ever worked out. So in system science, which we teach in our movement, Truth, Freedom, and Health, in system science, one of the key principles of all systems in the universe is a principle called resilience. Resilience is the ability to take a hit and you come back stronger. Okay, it's called stress inoculation. The military does it during boot camp. You don't want to guy suddenly going out and being shot at, you'll freak out, right? So you stress inoculate people. Nature wants us to be stress inoculated. We're supposed to get exposed to antigens. We're supposed to get supposed to go work out. We're supposed to feel a certain amount of pain and then come back. Things remodel and you get stronger. Kids are supposed to be exposed to people's faces and have human interactions. That's how they learn to, socially connect with other human beings. We're supposed to be utilizing these systems. So when we artificially do this and, like isolate people, we are literally, so that's the real issue. So the public health issue is not vax, anti-vax. A lot of people are making money off that. The real dialogue is natural immunity. How are we going to do that? Now that leads to some very important public health issues, far different than in the midst of this pandemic. By the way, in 2020, we ran the first mass conference where I had written a paper showing what happens using cytosolve at the molecular systems level. When you cover up the face, we had mapped out with the Harvard dentistry school, we had mapped out all the molecular pathways in the mouth and the microbiome. And we had conclusively shown that when you cover with the mask, you affect the pH of the mouth, particularly with kids, and you are changing the microbiome in the mouth. And when you change the microbiome in the mouth,
it goes around to the body, into the heart.
Everything. In fact, for kids, the microbiome is plastic. It means it's remodeling. So you're going to affect that kid's life for 20 years down. And not only did we do that, David, I would say the reason that the mask mandates stopped was because of the paper that we got out all over the country, for that matter, the world. And what we did with that paper was we had that paper, then we taught parents how to go to school board meetings with our paper, pass out the paper, and then send legal notices, putting them on notice, saying, now you know that harm could be caused and I could sue you in your personal capacity. So we integrated, the activism, the science, and the health together. Yeah. So so what I do with Cytosol full time is now we've helped many companies who want to formulate natural products companies figure out what the right combinations are. 2 years ago, we had built so many amazing mathematical models. I said, what about if we take every bioflavonoid in nature and we look at pain and inflammation, and we discover 2 very interesting bioflavonoids which have an amazing effect on pain and inflammation. In fact, we got the first US patent on this a couple of weeks ago, and we wrote a very important paper on this.
I just have to stop you. You just said bioflavonoids.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just thinking of Professor Frick from The Simpsons who says flavin all the time, and now I think we may have discovered the origins of that. Sorry, so
flavonoids or something else, yeah, but bioflavonoids.
Okay, and you got it. Okay, and so, actually, okay, sorry, go ahead. I have one more question.
I mean, going back to the invention of email is an invention. So these dirtbags on the internet who don't want to accept this, they get into this nerdly. Oh, is it an invention or not? Yeah, it's an invention. You could start patenting software in 1994. Copyright was away. You can patent stuff, right? It's really interesting that people don't want to accept that I have the actual documentation.
Well, look, I know
it's so fucked up.
I know what issue people are taking with this, and I'll get to it afterwards because I think people might say that you seem angry as though that's a flaw. I think you've seen how people get screwed under the system, and whether or not it's made you hypersensitive or more observant to the corruption of the system, that's a separate takeaway. But just get back to the one thing: the face mask, increased pH level of the mouth. Have we noticed yet increased cavities, for example, in kids that were wearing face masks?
There's been doctors who've noticed during this period of mask, the number of cavities, the number of mouth issues went up by 50%. It's quite well documented. Okay.
This makes me very angry because we had to move because these mandates were not coming down anytime soon in Canada. Your alternatives were finding schools that didn't impose them. And I was never really call me ignorant, and maybe I'm wrong. I was never convinced by the carbon dioxide argument, but I was not dumb to the idea of constant humidity over your face. Even the kids were talking about, they call it mask mouth. Maskne, acne under the mask.
Yes, that's a different issue. But the other interesting thing is this part of most mammals' face has the highest density of thermoreceptors, meaning it's a very sensitive part of your whole face, right? Because, as animals, you use this, you watch dogs, right? They're using that to sniff out. And we use that so this whole area is a very important part of the face. But we showed, and we ran a conference on this in 2020. We had like 500 people show up. We educated people. We shared them the science. We gave it. So we were doing this in 2020, but integrating the science, the activism, and the health issues, not only on this issue, but on, the Fauci issue. But I always like taking the science, David. What I enjoy doing is I hated the ivory tower approach where people sit around their coats and talk about science, because I think the science that comes out of there is not that great science. But I believe the greatest shit occurs when you take stuff in science and you translate it to human beings as fast as possible, and you get on the ground and you get your fellow human beings involved, because then you iterate and you learn more things. But most people don't want to get their hands dirty. Oh, I'm a scientist. I'm over here. I'm a tenured professor. Ooh, should I go out on a demonstration? Ooh, I shouldn't do that. It's going to hurt my rep. you say? So we have this unfortunate golden handcuff system, and we all look up to these false gods to come save us, be it a celebrity, be it this, be it that. So yeah, I have a serious disdain of those people because to me, it reminds me of the caste system.